Leave your ego at the door and get ready to be raw. This is Strength to Overcome, where real men find their strength in weakness. Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Strength to Overcome podcast. I'm Ryan here with my co-host Matt. This is episode 24. We're coming at you on a Thursday and looking forward to another great episode. Matt, what's going on in your world, brother?
Mate, I know that we have been catching up on texts recently, but it feels like I haven't actually caught up with you in weeks. We have had back-to-back guests, and it's been an incredible series of testimonies, but I actually want to hear about how you're doing and what's going on, because I know that you've become the stay-at-home dad officially on paper now. So I actually want to hear about what's going on with your world, and then we can dive in on my chaos on this end, although it's not been chaos, it's been blessing after blessing. So go ahead and give me the update, man.
Yeah, I guess I need to update my Facebook profile work experience. I'm now a professional father and stay-at-home dad. But yeah, it's been weird with the guests. The guests have been great, but it doesn't give us a big chance to catch up and kind of put our storyline out there, what's going on. So it'll be nice to catch up a little bit and see what's going on in each other's worlds. But yeah, so Callan's 12 weeks old, which means Erica's back at work. And her first day back was Monday, which means my first day officially as the stay-at-home dad was Monday. And we're just rocking and rolling over here. I've got my mom over at the house babysitting now, so we can jump on and share a few moments on the podcast. And I've got my schedule pinned to the refrigerator of hour by hour what I'm supposed to do, so I don't lose track of what needs to be done. And between bottles and tummy time and PT, OT, and all the naps, all of it's all scheduled out to the hour. So we're dialed in over here, ready to go.
So give me the hours that she is now out of the house, because, for the last 12 weeks, obviously it's been the two of you, and you've kind of shared a little bit of those details as you've gone, that at times you've almost felt like you're staring at each other, waiting for, okay, what's next? I mean, now it's a completely different chapter in the book, and she's up and gone by what time?
Yeah, right now she's leaving around 7:45 and getting home around 5:30, so not too bad. She gets to wake Callan up and feed him his first bottle in the morning and kind of get him dressed, get him ready for the day, and then I take over from there while she leaves. And then she's back for his bath time and all that. Not too bad for these first couple of weeks. She will be going on to like an inpatient stint here in the next couple of weeks where it'll be, 12 and a half hour shifts, 6 to 6:30 type of deal. That'll be a little bit more challenging because she'll leave before he gets up and she'll get home right before he goes to bed. And that'll definitely be the longer days for me where I'm doing everything from A to Z. Maybe she'll probably feed him at night before he goes to bed. That I think that starts October 11th and usually goes for about a month. So we'll have a little bit of a stretch there. It'll be tough, but then we'll kind of go back to a more normal schedule and kind of get back into another routine from there. Yeah, it's no more worrying about gyms or employees or finances or bills. It's just worrying about nap time and bottle time right now.
Have you gone back and checked out the episode with Stretch, one of our guests that played for the Lakers, that did an episode on being a stay-at-home dad? For the audience that haven't listened to that one, I know you know the episode well, but have you gone back and kind of just re-listened, and does it mean more now, thinking back to some of the stuff that he said now that you're in it?
No, I haven't gone back. I need to. I still think about it quite often just because of him talking about, his mindset behind being a stay-at-home dad. So that's probably something to go back to and look at him, because he had such an incredible way of thinking about, being the best, whether it's being the best basketball player or being the best father, kind of that same mindset that he took to it. So it's definitely something I'm kind of floating between, like, oh, everything's great, and then, oh, everything's not so great. I'm overwhelmed. How am I going to do this for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, that type of deal. It's like, all right, what, how and you already know because you're what, 4 to 6 years down the road of how things evolve and change, so that things won't stay the same forever. But right now, it's like, holy cow, this is we're in for a long haul now.
Yeah, and have you been able to catch yourself in those moments where you are thinking, wow, this is it, and it's a bad thing, not the birth of your son, but the path that you've got in front of you, and flipping it into, wow, this is the path that I get to do.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to you got to reframe it pretty quickly, right? Because it's on one end, when the overwhelm comes, it's like, oh, my freedom's gone. I'm stuck at home. I'm lonely, more lonely than normal because it's just me now. And you got to try to reframe that and flip it on itself that it's like, oh yeah, I get to, I'm retired. I get to do this. And it's a blessing that I'm able to do this versus going back to work and shipping him off to daycare, with some stranger. It's definitely a blessing for both Eric and I to be able to make this happen, and it is kind of funny because it's literally when I first started dating her 5 years ago, back in 2020, I joked about being on the stay-at-home dad track, with her being in the medical school at the time, and I was just kind of joking about that. I'm on the stay-at-home dad track, and sure enough, 5 years later, I've stayed on the track and made it to the destination of stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, and I think that you should be applauded for what you're doing, because there's probably a lot of guys out there that'll listen to this and go, hell no, I'd rather go to work. And, there is some truth to that. And, I've joked over my whole life, that getting away from something that's much harder, and getting into, the job for the day, or, now that I've got kids, I really understand, hey, I'm just going to work for a break, right? You've got this mindset of, hey, this thing's really hard. Let me go and do something that's easier. Well, you're doing the hardest thing known to man, and all our female listeners will be nodding profusely right now, going, yeah, he's actually doing the hardest thing ever. So, I want to applaud you for taking on the reins here. And that's not to say Erica is taking the easy way out. She's actually going to be the one, like you said, doing a 6 to 6:30. I mean, we're talking 13-hour days here in the medical field, developing her knowledge and furthering her skills so that one day she can truly provide without, having to go through the schooling system, but to, have a practice and be able to provide for you and a growing family. So, I mean, you're both taking on board pretty much two of the hardest things that you could possibly get into. And I think you both should be, patting each other on the back, or at least encouraging one another. Hey, you know what? Neither of us are getting an easy way out here. We're both really hustling. I texted you, I think it was last night, the Mortons are hustling like the Robertsons, you guys are absolutely, grinding it out, and you're just getting started on this new train. So, congrats to both of you for what you're doing. Can you share a little bit about how she's feeling, having to go back to work after staying at home for 12 weeks and having to kind of hand off, baby Callan to you and say, hey, I'll see you in 12, 13 hours from now?
Yeah, it's definitely been tough for her to kind of leave him in the mornings, and then of course she's got to keep up with the because we're still giving him breast milk every day, so she's got to keep up with the pumping schedule even while going back to work, and so that's another logistical challenge to get that set up for him, and she's still providing that for him day to day. So it's definitely tough. It's kind of breaking her heart to have to leave him each day, but I send her lots of pictures and we check in throughout the day, and luckily she's not full diving in yet into the 13-hour days, so she's got a little bit of a kind of a slow entryway back into things. And now she's a second year, so she's out of the first year, which is kind of the brutal rotations. So this second year of residency, she's not going to be quite as strained as she was last year and stretched thin. So she'll have a little bit better time with that once we get through this initial stretch of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely an adjustment for both of us, and we're kind of taking it stride by stride. It's been nice having my mom step up, and she's been here taking care of Callan a few nights. We've had some date nights over the last over the last few
Yeah.
weeks, we've kind of had a night out with the two of us, and my mom's taking care of Callan and put him to bed and fed him and all that and given him a bath. And we're actually we're leaving to go out of town this weekend to a wedding in Virginia. Actually, one of our listeners is getting married, so his name's Christian, and it's one of Erica's bridesmaids in her wedding, in our wedding. And they're getting married this weekend, so we're going up to Virginia to celebrate with them. And so shout out to Christian out there, and we'll see you here in a day or so, brother.
Yeah.
Taking the baby with us, of course, and my mom's going to take care of the dogs and hold down the dog fort here for us. But it's kind of daunting thinking about. I guess you did it with your little one when you first were in California, but flying on an airplane with a little baby is kind of daunting.
Yeah, we packed everything up and made the move. And when we got on the plane, it was almost like, the U-Haul was completely packed to be brought across to Florida. And we kind of got on the plane with an 8-week-old baby. And, all that anxiety, all that stress, all that worry about what this and what that, it didn't happen. And at the end of the day, the baby did great, Callie did great, and it went really smoothly. And the people around you are supportive. And in the end, it was a non-event, right? So to both of you is, just get on with it and don't worry about what everyone's thinking. Just do what you do. And, he's going to be just great. He's going to be just fine. And you're going to have a blast up there. And there'll be some hiccups with some sleep pattern changes or some, feedings that don't go the way you thought they might because of the change. And that's okay, right? It'll teach him to adapt and to be out of the comfort zone and still find his groove. So it's great that you guys are getting away to be able to do that. And it's cool that it's a listener that's, part of that story. Most definitely a beautiful area to be in at this time of the year. So you're actually going to catch it at its prime up there in the fall season here.
Yeah, yeah, they're getting married at a vineyard, so it's going to be beautiful up there, kind of northern Virginia area. So looking forward to that and seeing some of her friends and kind of catching up with them and celebrating their wedding. So I know it's something that they've been hard at planning for this whole year. So it'll be good
That's fantastic.
to celebrate with them and do
I
that
wanted to
sort of
get back
thing.
to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I wanted to get back to your mum. We've had a couple of guests that have shared some stuff recently, and I think it was the Eric Rogel episode, I think 2 episodes back, where he did talk about, the value of parents and, their roles in our lives and our roles, as we become, the kings of our kingdom and take over the reins. How instrumental has it been to have her there? You've mentioned a few times since we started this podcast that going from a multi-gym owner to a, stay-at-home dad, that transition is significant. And you might think or feel at times that you're an introvert and that being in front of people is tough, but you've always had a great personality in the gym when I've been around you, and you've had a lot of enthusiasm and encouragement from what I've seen. And, as you were my golf pro right in the beginning, and you've always had a great way with being able to dial in and direct and guide. But how instrumental is it when you feel that loneliness creeping in on you to have your mum close by and know that Callan's in safe hands and that she's got your best interests at heart? I mean, speak a little bit on that if you wouldn't mind, because, I didn't get to do that with my mum and dad having passed. And I just think that the value of what you're experiencing is something I don't quite have. Heather would get it because her mum and dad are here, but I don't get it. So can you share a little bit about how powerful her support and love has been and help for you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's literally while we're recording the podcast right now, right? Because I was able to text her this morning and be like, "Hey, can you come over at 3 o'clock and hang out with the baby so I can jump on the podcast?" So it's definitely been, it would definitely be a lot lonelier and a lot more isolating if she weren't here because the options, just like with your in-laws, the options disappear pretty quick if they're not around. And it's just thankful that she's willing to spend the time and put forth the energy. And like Eric said, her reasons are partly for her as well. She wants to spend time with her grandbaby type of deal. But yeah, for us, it's going to be a huge lifeline down here to where otherwise, just like with the idea of childcare, we'd be scrambling a lot of times just to be able to mow the lawn, for example, with Erica's work schedule and me with the baby staying at home, yeah, it's huge to have her here and have her willing to to come over anytime, really. It's
Yeah, because she packed up and moved, right?
yeah, yeah, she was down here. She came down from Virginia before Callan even arrived. She was ready to go. So it's definitely a blessing to have her here. And she just brought over a bunch of toys and clothes with her when she comes. And so we're definitely getting spoiled by grandma here.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad that she's there, and I've had so many things happen in the last few weeks between, solo episodes, as we like to call it, without a guest. And I just see your mum as such a blessing, such a divine appointment for her to be able to, in her life at this time, to be able to say, you know what, I'm packing up, I'm moving, right? I'm gonna relocate my whole life to be with my son and his wife and the upcoming grandchild. So what a divine appointment that everything lined up for you to be able to have your mum there. I don't think we can dismiss that there's a higher power putting some of those things together for you. And I've had some events recently that just make me, goosebump all over. And, hearing about what your mum's done and the way she's stepping in, I mean, dude, you don't even know. I mean, you're just getting started on it. And, she's, doing something that, let's be honest, parents don't just pack up and move. I mean, they've got other responsibilities, friends, families, spouses, other kids, jobs,
Hmm.
circle of friends, right? They don't just pack up and go. I mean, yeah, sure, some people do, but I mean, in all reality, what she's done is just off the charts, I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy. So, for her to be able to do that is truly a blessing from above for sure, in my opinion, and hopefully you see it the same way and Erica does, because, her help for you is invaluable, and I'm always going to remind you of that as not having my mum and dad here to be able to do that, and never take that for granted. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there'll be times where, like Eric said, it's like, all right, you got to go. I need some space here, and that's okay to do that too. But
Yeah.
always value being able to have her there is just such a powerful time for you, man. So pass that along to her from me, right? She doesn't know me, but pass it along from me too. And I feel like she's helping a buddy of mine out in a great time. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me about what's going on in your world. I know this is interesting because at one point, I think we've told the audience what you're up to, at least briefly, right? I know you have on your personal Facebook at least, but it's kind of interesting because at one point you were a stay-at-home dad, right? You were on that route, that track just a few years ago, where you probably thought this was your new role, right? Was being a stay-at-home dad to one, now two kids and things have kind of gone in a different direction to where you're back at the grind a little bit. So fill us in kind of what's going on in your world.
That's true. And I think that would be a whole other episode of, how did that transition play out and what went down. But ultimately, there was a time there where I did think I'd be able to be a stay-at-home dad and, do some carpentry work on the side, that type of thing, and get back to those roots. And, obviously one thing led to another where that would be a whole other episode. But, when that bicep tore, 6 months ago, I think it was almost 6 months ago today, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And I realized, wow, my life's about to change forever. It has led me down this path, and this is why it's so powerful to have shared all these episodes and track the journey, because I find myself back at Crunch, back in the fitness industry, and there's this 60-second clip I did maybe a month ago where I was going back into Crunch, having made the commitment, yes, I'm coming back as an employee, but I hadn't started yet, and I wanted to get into the gym and just familiarize myself with the equipment, see if my hand that's still swollen and some sensitivity issues in my hand, and obviously the limitations on my arm and my frozen shoulder that's still frozen. But I remember standing in the parking lot, the car park, and I did a 60-second clip that I posted that talks a little bit about, there's my little one in the background, but it talks a little bit about the fear, the anxiety, the hesitations that I had where I didn't even want to walk into the building. I've lost a lot of my size, and I don't carry a lot of size on me anyway for muscle purposes, but I definitely lost a lot in the last 6 months, lost my motivation, so I didn't really do legs either, and I was standing in the parking lot trying to figure out how to walk into this gym, knowing that I'd signed to come back, and I didn't even know if I could adjust equipment to be able to train myself, let alone clients, hand them weights, be engaged, right? And I've shared that clip, and I was feeling that fear overwhelm me like it was back in the, early late 90s and early 2000s, where I didn't even want to step foot in a gym. I was embarrassed. And so here we are, what are we, 3 or 4 weeks later now, and I'm knee deep in it. And I come home just wondering, how the hell am I actually in this, doing this with this arm that won't do what it needs to do? Sitting with people, getting to know my member base, talking to strangers, seeing some old faces that don't know the story, meeting new people that are, maybe looking to get some help, but they're not sure. And I come home, and I remember coming home the other day, and I was sitting in the back here with my feet in the grass and just looking up, and just brought to tears. Like, I don't even understand how my clientele base is growing. I don't even understand it. It's been a blur. Just a month ago, I didn't even want to step foot in the building. I had a few people really encourage me, push me, say, you'll be fine, you're experienced, people don't know what you're going through, and you can share it. But ultimately, it's your knowledge and your compassion and empathy that'll help. And here I am now talking to you after a day at the gym and helping people, and it's just been this whirlwind. I don't even understand. I can't even really put it into words how the hell I have any clients.
Well, you started, what, September 8th, you started training in terms of like, went back to school to learn the ropes again. And we're 22 days later, and you've got, what, 13 clients, you told me?
14 now.
14 now. Wow.
I picked up another one today, and it's different. I used to think that that number was important, and now I'm really looking at it thinking, who is being brought to my path for me to influence? Who am I be connected with where I can make an impact? And I look down this list of names, and I look forward to every person on that list already, even though I've only had them for weeks, or even getting somebody to jump on board with the plan and the vision that I've got for them and what they want to achieve, and haven't really even worked with them, but a opportunity to impact that life now moving forward. And I look forward to each and every person on my schedule as if I've had them for years and they're friends. And so I've been really blessed to have such a great list of people, and they're not a number. They're not, we use that number just to help you and I as gym owners of the past to understand, well, how many have you got so far? And sure, there's a number, but they're names, they're people, they've got goals, they've got heartaches, they've got things that are broken, things that are torn, and I get to be a part of that. And I've shared with each and every one of them, hey, I'm broken too. I'm with you. I
Yeah.
got you. And it's just staggering how the Almighty has put these people in my path, not only to influence, but to also pay the bills. We've documented quite heavily the impact a surgery out of the blue has taken its toll on us financially, me physically, and of course my marriage and my household. So it's like mind blowing as you check in on me each and every day. Yeah, how you going? Where are you at? What do you got coming in? And I've been able to update it. And sure enough, even within a day, it's a new number. And I don't even know, mate. I mean, I'm sure you've been in my shoes.
Yeah. Well, it's got to feel good to be kind of, I know you're scrambling and grinding, but it's got to feel good to get back into the saddle and already feel like you're making an impact helping people again. That's something I definitely miss, beyond all the stress of owning a business, owning a gym. Almost being an employee again probably feels good because you can just focus on helping the people and not worry about all the big picture items that a gym owner has to worry about. That's great, man, that you've got 14 clients, and I mean, you're probably over halfway to being full and not, being filled up. So if anybody's in the area, you better jump on it fast to get working with Matt because he's going to be filled up pretty soon.
Yeah, it's been crazy. And, one of the funniest things that's happened, I shouldn't use the word funny. This is just a mind blowing. I haven't shared this with you. I wanted to do this on camera, but, the financial strain of a surgery out of pocket, and, not making money for most of the last 6 months. I've done some Ubering here and there, but that hasn't really done enough to hem the bleeding. And so, we've had to make some serious financial decisions, and trying to get the whole household to have a budget reset, right? To try and figure out, like, how do we pull this off? Because, Heather's scrambling, she's doing what she can, and picking up so many jobs, she can't even keep track of them all. And I'm over there trying to figure out how do I build up a clientele base and how do we cut costs. And of course, you and I have talked a lot about, well, how do we build up and what does it take? We did an episode on finding the right trainer, but ultimately you've got to pray that the right people find you too, right? So, we've worked really hard on what does it look like. And of course, I've shared in another episode these jobs that I had interviews where the kind of got to the point where it's like, we're ready to sign and it's fallen through or hasn't gone the way I thought it would. And all that was left seemed to be this crunch around the corner where I had been previously. And it almost felt like, I'm going back with my tail between my legs a little bit and not wondering, not knowing where it's going to come from. And so in the end, it was like this divine appointment. Just go back to that crunch. You live 2 miles from the gym, and if you want to offload your car, my sports van, and you're not doing carpentry work, then you could walk to the gym, right? And so we've kind of gone down this path where this has been a real option to say, you know what, I've been placed at a location that's that close, probably could get away with offloading one of the vehicles and going down that path and figuring it out. And so about a week ago, sitting in the house, and I'm like, I need to check the mail for something. So I go out the front, kids are inside, and I'm checking the mail, and then the neighbor happens to be in his yard. He asks me, how's the shoulder doing? I'm talking to him for a minute, maybe two, just enough to hold me up. And I see this guy riding this bike, flying down the road, and he gets closer, and I recognize it as a friend of mine. So the neighbor goes inside. I get chatting with the neighbor that's riding his bike flying down the street, and he's riding this electric bike. I said, dude, I've been thinking about getting one of those. I could ride to work. He goes, jump on, take it for a spin. So I get on there, I, nearly ride into a tree, take out a letterbox, that type of thing. I mean, this thing's got some wheels behind it, right? It's got some horses under the hood. This thing's going 30 miles an hour, right? I'm in bare feet, no helmet, nothing, classic Aussie, no feet. And, I'm tearing around the neighborhood on this thing, just, giving it a whirl. So I get back and we get chatting for a few more minutes. I said, dude, while I've been going on my walks in the morning, I've watched 2 people riding these electric bikes, and I swear I've seen these Crunch name tags. I'm like, they're riding to work too. I want to talk to whoever it is at Crunch and find out what make, what model, what it is they're riding to work, and maybe I'll look into getting one for myself, right? I'll find a cheap one because these things are thousands of dollars, right? Some of
Yeah.
the top end ones. And so I said to my buddy, I said, send me a link. I got to get these kids to bed. Send me a link. So I go in, I'm working with the kids, and I get them down into the bath and get them out, get the jammies on, and I'm doing something somewhere else in the house, and they come running in and say, there's someone at the door, there's someone at the door. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, 8 o'clock, and the kids are still up running around. So I go to the front door, and it's the neighbor that had the bike. And he beckons me. He says, come with me. Asked me to follow him. He had driven back in his truck, and he opens the back of his truck, and in the back of this truck is an electric bike, different than the one he was on just an hour or two earlier. I said, what is this? He goes, I went home, and I told my wife the story. He said, I was riding around the neighborhood. I've never been down your street. Something told me to ride down your street at that time. And I got about halfway down the street and something said, keep going. And as I kept going around the corner, I ran into you. You told me your story about what's going on and you might offload a car just to reset the budget a little bit and that you might walk or ride to work. That you jumped on my bike, you took it for a spin, you loved it, and that you wanted the link to that bike to check it out and see if it would be a good fit. And his wife looks at him, says, we bought 2 bikes. I'm not riding my bike. Too big, it's too heavy, it's 75 pounds, this full-blown high-end electric bike. She goes, I need you to take my bike, put it in the truck, I need you to drive it back, and I need you to give him my bike. I'm like, I've never even met his wife. So he shows up with this bike and says, it's yours.
Wow. What in the world?
Now, of course, at the time I was brought to tears. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this random event that I say is never random, right? And listen, you call the creator of this universe that we live in whatever you like, right? There's a lot of people that argue about what name and how it works and who he is or she or it or whatever, right? The universe, the creator of all that we know. It's like, I'm sorry, but you cannot dismiss that there is a power far greater than anything we can understand that made him ride his bike down that street at the very moment I go out to check the mail, and he feels impressed to keep going and runs into me. I've never seen him ride his bike in his life, let alone down my street, let alone his wife to then say, you need to take my bike back to him. I mean, brother, I can't even describe it. He literally had loaded this thing up, brought it back, unloaded it out the back of the truck, and said, this is your bike.
Wow. That's unbelievable. And it's the same sort of model, electric. It's the same thing
Yeah,
type of
I
deal.
mean, ridiculous. My kids are running around. This thing is so heavy and so robust. It's like a motorbike.
Yeah.
And this is how the Almighty puts this means of transport in my hands at a time in my life where I'm literally now working around the corner, and this thing at 30 miles an hour, I'm beating cars to get
Yeah.
to the gym on the sidewalk. I'm flying, right? Completely reckless. And here, just unbelievable, and I didn't want to share who that was because they asked for me not to. They wanted it to be a genuine divine appointment. Hey, listen, I didn't ride down your street to give you my bike or my wife's bike, let alone, but she doesn't even know me. And so he deserves the credit for hearing whatever voice he heard at that time and his wife hearing it, right? And this is the level that I believe is available to us all, where the Almighty is just putting things together that, 6 months ago, I'm sitting here crying because my arm is torn and, life is forever not going the way I thought it was. And then, stuff like this happens. And it's just been event after event where, I got to give credit to the Almighty for putting this together and for the people around me that are willing to be used to be a part of that story. And his wife, whom I don't even know yet, they were and are a part of this unbelievable story. And I just feel like there's so much more ready to unfold here. And you're a part of that story. I think about it all the time. In fact, somebody just told me the other day how much they've watched you change from our first episode.
Mm.
So now I want to throw it back to you and hear a little bit from you on how do you think you've changed and some of the things that you've seen unfold in your life, because we're 24 episodes in now, 6 months to the day I tore my bicep. This is all unfolding. How have you changed, or what have you seen in your life?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely the purpose is revolving around Callan and the family life now, where that was kind of on the back burner, if we're being honest. It was what's going on in my world, woe is me, I don't have my gym anymore, don't have my, house back in Virginia. I'm in a weird place, no real friends. And it was kind of all about me and my problems. And now it's shifted to where it's the quote problem is figuring out how to support the family and get the family in the best place possible and raise Kellen in the best manner I can. And that's kind of been the focus and the shift for me over the last 6 months, 5 months since we've been doing the podcast. It's been wild. It's been crazy to see kind of everything unfold with you and what's going on with this. And I'm like blown away that you've got 14 clients in 3 weeks, and it's now you've got a electric bike that you're going to be riding to work in. It's wild.
Yeah, and it was interesting that the commentary that I received, or the verbal excitement that I heard describing the change they've noticed in you. And of course, I think I've talked about it, throughout the podcast here and there, where I've noticed the change. I've noticed the difference in your demeanor. I've noticed the difference in your texts, dialogue. It's almost as if you've finally realized the blessing that you're in right now could not have otherwise come about unless you had been through some of those trials prior to filming this podcast, and some of the heartache that you experienced. For those who haven't listened, go back to his testimony episode that still just blows me away about that divine appointment where you wouldn't be here at all in this capacity. You wouldn't probably be married. You probably wouldn't have a son at all. And just that one moment, right? I mean, have you looked back at that? How do you connect that? Where does that fall into? Do you put that into the box of coincidence? Do you put that into the box of a higher power, or, you manifested it? What do you put that down to?
Yeah, it's hard to put it down to coincidence, right? It's just that intersection, that same intersection that I'd gotten in an accident before, and that car that came out of nowhere. It's just unbelievable. Even as it was happening, I kind of was like, this has got to be meant to be somehow, some way. It's like, it's just ridiculous. So without that accident, yeah, you're right. I don't know where I'd be right now. I might be still in Virginia. I might be down here on my own. Definitely wouldn't have a child and be able to take care of a child right now if that car accident hadn't happened. It's wild to think about.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there, and we've had some guests sharing their testimony where the tragedy that is upon you at that moment feels very much like, woe is me. I know I've spent a lot of time there, and even getting back into the gym and just hearing some of the stories of the people that I'm going to be working with, and even some of the trainers there that had their own testimonies. Mine is visible, mine is limiting, but it's really given me a good kick up the ass to just say, Matt, what the hell are you doing? Get on with it, and I've had a few people that have kind of helped me do that, but, this isn't the end. This is just the beginning. And I think that for you, with your baby that's 12 weeks old, right, this is just the beginning, right? We don't know how things are going to play out for you, where you're going to end up. Are there going to be more kids in the horizon? How big is the family going to be? What will you end up doing? What sort of practice will she get into, right? I think that your divine appointment in that intersection, and even the story of my recent gift from above of a way to get to work, definitely lead us towards someone else's pulling the strings here. And I'm okay with it, but at the time I think we can feel down and out. So for those that are struggling, I think they just gotta hold on, because sometimes these trials seem insurmountable. But there's usually, if we hold on long enough, there's usually a purpose for it. And I'm grateful for you and all your encouragement as a trainer to, Matt, get out there, get your clients, get going. You got this. And you've been instrumental in that process. And I definitely wouldn't be doing it probably without a lot of the counsel you and I've had off camera. So thank you to you for being in this position. And hopefully I can live up to the hype of being able to help the people I've got, and whoever else I can fit into the schedule. So, thanks to
Yeah,
you, man.
man. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see you back in it. I can kind of live vicariously through you in the training world right now.
Yeah, I think there are times where I feel mentally exhausted, and that's a muscle that I have to train back into a groove. Working in the gym for 8-10 hours a day, I'm not training that many hours, but I've been there just trying to network and get to know people and
Hmm.
get to know my member base. And I come away from that time, I'm mentally shot.
For
And
sure.
I'm like, man, it would be great to just be staying home with the kids. And of course, you're on the other end of the state here thinking, man, it'd be nice to just get in the gym and have a few pints, I'm sure, just to get away from
Yeah.
the monotony.
Yeah, it's funny how the grass is always greener on the other side, isn't it? So you got to catch yourself.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I think quite often there's been times where you and I have been in this podcast and had to get on and shoot an episode at the last minute just to get it out. And there's been times where I've sensed, that you're down or out, and I've been down or out, but we've somehow managed to keep it going and encourage one another. And I think there's a force here that just keeps on pushing us back in this direction. And I'm grateful to the Almighty Creator and orchestrating these things. I'm thankful for my bike, my 14 clients, influential people that have helped me get over the line to get back in, and you're one of them. And for those around me that have trusted and believed in me. So all that to say thank you to you and to the Almighty. And I think what you're about to go through with this big schedule shift is going to reveal some things about you too. So I'm kind of excited. I know we've got a couple of guests lined up too, but in about 3 weeks from now, we're going to see where we're at. And hopefully have some more really cool stories to share, because we really want to show people there is a way out of the misery that 6 months ago, I think we probably found ourselves in a couple of dark spots.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. I'm excited to see what's next and continue the journey with you.
All right, brother. I think that next week is the big quarter century of episodes.
Yes,
We've got a
sir.
couple of guests lined up. Not sure which one we're going to end up on here with, but thanks again for all you do behind the scenes to put this stuff together and get it out there. And you want to wrap us up and help people figure out how to like and subscribe. I don't even know how to do all that stuff, but
Yeah, guys. Like the podcast, go on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, Strength to Overcome. Even if you're listening to this on audio, do us a favor and hop onto YouTube, subscribe to the Strength to Overcome YouTube channel. Shoot us an email, info.strengthtoovercome@gmail.com. If you want to share your testimony and jump on the show, and if you feel like you've got a story that can help other guys struggling, shoot us a message on Instagram, Facebook, and let's start the conversation and getting you on the show and having the conversation. Other than that, we're excited to keep the journey going. Like Matt said, hit number 25 next week and keep this thing rolling.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate you as always. I know you've got a lawn to mow, a baby to feed, and it's gonna put you in bed about 7 o'clock tonight. Go do that. I'll text you on the other side of this episode, and we'll see where we're at in a week from now.
Sounds good. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week.
Stay strong. Cheers.